The Force shows us many paths, infinite possibilities branching like streams from a great river. I have walked beyond the veil of death, and from here, I see what was, what is, and what might have been. After Exegol's final battle, a new path emerged through Rey Skywalker, not of light conquering dark, but a balance embracing both. This is the story of how the last Jedi became the first Guardian, and how the galaxy learned that true strength lies not in choosing sides, but in accepting the whole. The twin suns of Tatooine burned mercilessly overhead as Rey's lightsaber crashed against the crimson blade of a masked attacker. Sand whirled around them in a violent dance, and for a moment, just a moment, the yellow of her blade flickered with something darker. "You feel it, don't you?" The attacker hissed through his mask, pressing forward with renewed fury. "The shadow calling to you. The Jedi texts lie to you, Skywalker." Rey parried, her muscles straining against the assault. 1 year. 1 year since Exegol, since she'd taken the Skywalker name. And still, these remnants of the First Order hunted her. But this one was different. This one wielded the Force. The battle ended not with victory, but with the attacker dropping to his knees, mask falling away to reveal tear-streaked cheeks. What did you do to me?" "I showed you the truth," Rey said softly, deactivating her saber. "There's another way." Their contradictions weighing heavier on her soul each passing day. The Force whispered of change, of evolution, of something new struggling to be born. "Go," she told the former attacker softly. "Find your own path. When you're ready, you'll know where to find me." He stumbled away across the dunes, and Rey knew with Force-born certainty that Kavan, inside the humble dwelling that had once sheltered Luke Skywalker, Rey sat cross-legged among scattered holocrons and weathered tomes. The Jedi taught suppression of emotion, detachment from all bonds. The Sith preached passion unleashed, power without restraint. Both had failed. Both had fallen. "You're troubled." Rey didn't startle at Luke's voice anymore. The Force ghost materialized beside her, his blue luminescence casting strange shadows on the ancient walls. "The galaxy looks to me to rebuild the Jedi Order," Rey said, not looking up from the text. "But the more I learn, the more I realize," she trailed off, struggling to voice the hearsay growing in her heart. "That we were wrong?" Luke finished gently. A sad smile played at his lips. "I spent years on that island learning the same lesson. The Jedi became so afraid of the dark that we forgot shadows only exist where there's light." Another shimmer in the Force, and Leia appeared beside her brother. "The galaxy doesn't need more Jedi, Rey. It needs you. It needs what you've become. Someone who's touched both darkness and light and chosen neither." Rey's hand drifted to the scar on her arm, a reminder of her heritage, of Palpatine's blood flowing through her veins. "But without the Jedi Code, without those boundaries, how do we keep from falling?" "By falling sometimes." A new voice rumbled, deep and tinged with ancient regrets. Anakin Skywalker's spirit materialized, bearing the weight of 2 lives' worth of mistakes. By getting back up, by accepting that we're not meant to be perfect vessels of the light, but complete beings capable of both creation and destruction. The 3 ghosts faded as Rey closed her eyes, reaching deeper into the Force than she'd ever dared. The meditation chamber dissolved around her, reality bending and twisting until she stood in a place between places. The world between worlds, where all possibilities converged. Paths stretched in every direction, doorways showing glimpses of what was, what is, and what might be. She saw Ahsoka Tano, walking her own path between Jedi and Sith. She saw the Bendu, that ancient being of perfect neutrality. And there, at the crossroads of all paths, stood 3 figures she recognized from the ancient texts: the Father, the Daughter, and the Son of Mortis. "Balance," the Father spoke, though his lips didn't move. "True balance isn't the absence of conflict, but the harmony between opposing forces. The Jedi forgot this. The Sith rejected it. You, child of light born from darkness, can remember." When Rey opened her eyes, tears streaked her cheeks. The Force itself had spoken, had shown her a truth the Ancient Ones had lost in their eternal war. She rose, gathering the texts not to preserve them, but to transform them. The workshop behind the homestead hummed with activity. Rey had been working for days, disassembling her lightsaber with the reverence of a ritual. The yellow blade had served her well, but it represented the past, a Jedi weapon for a Jedi Guardian. What she was becoming required something new. "You sure about this?" Finn's voice carried from the doorway. He had arrived on Tatooine a week ago, drawn by dreams and that persistent tug in the Force he'd finally stopped ignoring. Rey smiled without looking up from her work. Remember what you felt when you broke your conditioning? That moment when you chose to be more than what others defined you as? Every day, Finn admitted, stepping closer. It was terrifying and liberating at the same time. That's what this is. Rey held up the new crystal she'd been shaping. Neither white nor black, but a swirling gray that seemed to shift with her emotions. The path of unity. No more pretending we're above feeling. No more choosing between passion and peace. Finn watched in fascination as she assembled the new hilt, its design borrowing elements from both Jedi and Sith traditions. So we're what? Gray Jedi? No. Rey's voice carried quiet certainty. Not gray Jedi. Not anything Jedi. We're something new. Balance walkers. Guardians who embrace the full spectrum of the Force. The new saber ignited with a soft hum, its gray blade casting shifting shadows that danced between light and dark. Rey smiled at the sight. Her last tie to the old ways had been transformed. I like it, Finn grinned. So when do I get one of those fancy new sabers? Rey laughed. When was the last time she truly laughed? First, you need to unlearn what you think you know about the Force. The Jedi would have you suppress your anger about what the First Order did to you. The Sith would have you wallow in it. I'm going to teach you to transform it. Words spread quietly at first. Force sensitives across the galaxy, those who had hidden during the Empire's purges, those who never fit the rigid molds of Jedi or Sith, began to seek Rey out. They came to Tatooine in small groups. A Dathomirian witch whose sisters had cast her out for showing mercy. A Barrando sage questioning his order's isolation. A young Togruta whose Force visions showed both light and shadow entwined. But it was the arrival of a small familiar figure that truly validated Rey's path. Grogu stood at the threshold of the homestead, his enormous eyes reflecting depths of understanding that bellied his childlike appearance. Behind him, R2-D2 waited patiently. Master Luke released you from your training, Rey said. It wasn't a question. Welcome to the balance. Rey smiled, kneeling to meet him at eye level. Here, you won't have to choose between attachment and duty. Here, love makes you stronger. Not everyone celebrated Rey's new philosophy. In the gleaming towers of the New Republic capital, worried voices rose in heated debate. 2 years had passed since Rey first declared her new path, and the Balance Walkers now numbered in the dozens. She's teaching them to use the dark side. General Dameron, Poe, still insisted on the title, slammed his fist on the conference table. How is that different from what Kylo Ren became? Rose Tico, now a senior advisor, chose her words carefully. Poe, I've seen her students. They're not falling to darkness. They're balanced, centered in a way that old Jedi never were. The old Jedi kept peace for 1,000 generations and fell in a single day when that peace was tested, Rose countered. Maybe Rey's right. Maybe absolute light cast the deepest shadows. Poe's jaw clenched. He'd fought too hard against the dark to accept its integration easily. I hope you're right, Rose, for all our sakes. But while politicians debated, a far more dangerous opposition gathered strength in the unknown regions. In the shattered remains of Exegol, where Palpatine's final defeat had left wounds in reality itself, a new cult rose from the ashes of the old. They called themselves the Crimson Kin, and they wore their scars proudly. Survivors of the First Order, Sith eternal cultists who'd escaped the collapsing fortress. Their leader, Moff Vox, had been a mere colonel when the final order fell. But in the ruins of Palpatine's laboratory, he'd found something. Fragments of Sith alchemy. Holocrons speaking of power beyond the rule of two. And most dangerously, a damaged but functional Sith wayfinder that could track Force convergences across the galaxy. Rey Skywalker preaches hearsay, Vox addressed his gathered followers, his voice carrying the weight of absolute conviction. She dilutes the purity of the dark with weakness. She would have us kneel beside Jedi sympathizers and call it balance. The crowd roared its anger, red-bladed sabers igniting in unified fury. We are the true inheritors of the Sith legacy, Vox continued, his own unstable blade casting crimson shadows. And we will show the galaxy that power shared is power wasted. The confrontation came on Ilum, the ancient Jedi world slowly healing from its transformation into Starkiller Base. Rey had brought her students here to study the Kyber cave, to understand how the First Order's corruption could be cleansed through balance rather than destruction. They were deep in meditation when the Crimson Kin struck. Rey Skywalker! Vox's voice echoed through the crystalline chambers. Face me, pretender. Face the fury of the true dark side. Rey rose slowly, her students, Finn, Grogu, and a dozen others forming a protective circle. I won't fight you out of anger, she called back. but I will defend what we're building. Building? Vox laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You're not building, you're destroying. Destroying the purity of the Force traditions. Their blades met in a cascade of gray and crimson light. But this was more than a duel. It was a battle of philosophies made manifest in the Force itself. With each strike, Vox poured his hatred, his fear of change, his desperate need for the simple clarity of absolute darkness. And with each parry, Rey responded not with opposing light, but with acceptance, understanding, integration. You think your balance makes you strong? Vox snarled, unleashing a storm of Force lightning that would have made Palpatine proud. Rey didn't deflect it. Instead, she absorbed it, let it flow through her, not consuming her, but becoming part of her energy. The look of shock on Vox's face was almost comical. No, she said calmly, her gray blade humming with new power. I think my balance makes me whole. What happened next would be debated by Force scholars for generations. Rey reached out, not with an attack, but with what she'd come to call harmonic convergence, a technique born from her meditations in the world between worlds. She touched Vox's mind, his spirit, his very connection to the Force, and she aligned it. For one terrible, beautiful moment, Vox experienced true balance. He felt his hatred and his fear, yes, but also the love he'd buried, the hope he'd strangled, the light he'd spent so long denying. The contradictions of his existence crashed together, and in that collision, truth emerged. The Moff fell to his knees, his lightsaber clattering across the crystal floor. Tears streamed down his scarred face as years of suppressed emotion flooded through him. What have I done? What have I become? Someone who can choose differently, Rey said gently, deactivating her blade and extending her hand. If you're willing. Behind her, the Crimson Kin watched in stunned silence as their leader took that offered hand. One by one, red blades extinguished. The ceremony took place in the Senate chambers. Rey stood before the assembled representatives, her students arrayed behind her, former First Order and Resistance alike, united in their diversity. We are not Jedi, she declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. We are not Sith. We are the guardians of balance, and we offer our service not as warriors or monks, but as mediators, healers, and guides. Chancellor Konix, Rose had insisted on the promotion, stepped forward with the official recognition. The new Republic acknowledges the Guardians of Balance as protectors of peace and servants in the Force in all of its aspects. Applause rippled through the chamber, some enthusiastic, some cautious. Change was never easy, but the galaxy had seen too much of where absolutes led. Later, in the quiet of evening, Rey found Finn on the observation deck, co-founder of a new Force tradition, he mused, watching the traffic streams of Coruscant flow like rivers of light. Not bad for a former stormtrooper. Not bad for anyone, Rey agreed. Then, more seriously, this isn't about hierarchy anymore, Finn. No masters, no apprentices, just beings helping each other find their balance. I know. Finn's new lightsaber, silver white with veins of deep purple, hung at his side, a symbol of his own journey through light and shadow. Feels right, you know? Like this is what it was always supposed to be. The new temple rose not from imposed design, but from organic growth. On Ahch-To, where the ancient Jedi text had waited in self-imposed exile, the Guardians built something unprecedented. No towering spires or forbidden walls. Instead, structures that flowed with the island's natural formations, spaces that breathed with the rhythm of the Force itself. Rey watched from a natural stone platform as Grogu demonstrated for the newest students. Beautiful, she murmured. The Force sings differently now. Ahsoka Tano's voice came from behind her. The Togruta had arrived unannounced, as was her way. I've walked between orders for so long. I'd forgotten what it felt like to see something truly new being born. Will you stay? Rey asked hopefully. Ahsoka smiled. For a while. I have some things to teach and more to learn. Your path and mine aren't so different, Rey. Perhaps they never were. As the twin suns set, for even Ahch-To seemed to honor the symbolism, Rey felt the Force settle around her like a comfortable cloak. Not the rigid armor of the Jedi or the consuming fire of the Sith, but something warmer, more natural, more true. The age of absolutes was ending. The time of balance had begun. In the growing twilight, Grogu approached Rey with something cupped in his small hands. She knelt, and he opened his palms to reveal his achievement, a Kyber crystal that pulsed with perfectly balanced energy, neither light nor dark, but beautifully, powerfully gray. Yes, Rey whispered, touching the crystal gently. This is the way. The Force sang its approval, and across the galaxy, new voices joined the chorus. Not an end, but a beginning. Not victory over darkness or light, but harmony between them. The balance had come at last. If you enjoyed this journey into an alternative Star Wars universe, where destiny takes unexpected turns and balance means something entirely different, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We explore the infinite possibilities hidden within the galaxy far, far away, asking the questions that reshape everything you thought you knew. The Force has many paths. Come discover them with us.